Hi, this is Neil Lazarus and welcome to another podcast. A lot of events happening very quickly in the Middle East. We're going to be looking today at the newly announced Kushner plan, putting economics first. This is coming out in Bahrain, a major move to try and take the first steps to solving the Palestinian-Israeli conflict under the Trump administration. We'll also look at what's going on in the Gulf. Has Trump's rhetoric really become too loud and is actually moving away from a conflict with Iran? Did the fact that he called off a strike as a result of the bringing down of an American drone actually reveal that Trump's real plan is to try and get Iran to renegotiate the Iran deal that Obama laid out? We also have a few strange stories. So again, a lot of stuff to cover. This broadcast is becoming increasingly popular, and it's great to hear your feedback. You can write to me on awesomeseminars2001@gmail.com. You can comment on Twitter, which is at awesomeseminars. You can also comment on my Facebook. Just look up Neil Lazarus, Awesome Seminars on the Facebook page. Let us know what you think. Best is if you send us a recording of your opinions. We will play them. So here's the issue. Let's start really with what's going on with the Kushner plan. There's a new approach here, which is something which I think is actually quite interesting. And when I speak, I always try and encourage people to be nuanced. You can agree and disagree with politics. In other words, today it's like you're either for Trump, against Trump, for the Democrats or against the Democrats. And why is it and when did it become impossible, like totally impossible, to actually say, you know what, Obama did some good things, he really did some bad things. And you know what, Trump, yeah, problem, but you know what? Some of the things may be interesting. Where did we lose the word nuance? I want it back. I'm missing it. So, I actually think the plan of Kushner is actually really quite interesting. The reality is, whether it will take place, because it could solve some of the Palestinian problems, and is therefore being rejected by the Palestinian leadership, who seems to prefer conflict rather than solving the real issues, is fascinating. Let's have a look what actually was being said. You can actually download this from the White House website. If you want a copy of the plan, I think I've got it, so I can send it to you as well as a PDF. Bottom line, the Trump administration rolled out with Kushner. By the way, Kushner, I'm fascinated. It's the first time I've heard him speak in the last week. He's like, the man doesn't normally speak, let alone shave. But he has, too soon, too much. But fascinating, really fascinating at what he's been coming out with. They rolled out a long-awaited Middle East peace plan, which aims to raise up to $50 billion. You heard me right, $50 billion to help the Palestinians and Arabs in the region. They're trying to get top business officials, whether it's and donors from the Middle East, to try and create a bank which will be used to as a source of implementing many projects here. Basically, the concept is to create a global investment fund. And that would start the beginning of investment within the Palestinians, the Palestinian community. The document is actually it's a 40-page document. The Trump administration includes the creation of investment banks. It includes major projects which would redefine some of the major issues within the Israeli-Palestinian relationship. The Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza would get around $27.8 billion. Egypt was going to get about $9.2 billion. Jordan's $7.4 billion. And Lebanon $6.3 billion. In many ways, it looks like a bit like a Marshall Plan, if you're familiar, of the Trump administration. What's also, I would add, interesting is the countries that didn't go there. Namely, the Palestinians didn't turn up. They don't want to know. I think the Palestinians, in many ways, are worried that this is trying to buy out the Palestinians with money, but without sovereignty. In other words, that the plan itself, this is the economic part, you've got the political part coming, would lead to something far short of what their aspirations are. But on the other hand, it's a little ironic because this money could really benefit the Palestinians. A signature project which they're talking about would be transportation network, which would connect Gaza to the West Bank, quote, to change the Palestinian economy. Now, trouble with that, it's not a new idea. We've had it before, and all of these ideas are not necessarily new and have failed. What I'm interested in seeing is why they're so confident it would work this time. We've had suggestions before about connecting the Gaza Strip to the West Bank. And there's been arguments about, should it be a shuttle on a bridge type thing? There was arguments about who controlled the land under the bridge. If you look carefully, there's also roads. There's a road that connects Gaza. I drive down it quite often. A road that connects Gaza, goes via Kiryat Gat to the West Bank. Some of the signs, I think they're still there. Excuse me. That failed as well. But the idea, at least, is to try and link the two separate geographic areas of the Palestinians physically. Hold on, but what about security? Would that not just be a funnel, if the Israelis aren't checking, for weapons to get from Gaza into the West Bank? There are over 200 proposed programs, and projects are $2 billion, according to Bloomberg newspaper, to expand the Palestinian internet. $1 billion to help develop the Gaza marine natural gas field, and $900 million for hospitals and healthcare facilities to acquire and upgrade the equipment. All very good, very positive. My feeling, though, is, I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Let me know, because I think this could be interesting. Let's deal with some of the real problems, and then maybe, just maybe, the Palestinians will be willing to talk to the Israelis. I'm not sure it solves the problems, but maybe it does. It placates the people. Is that good? Is that bad? And the Palestinians are very worried about it. Furthermore, there are other details which I found fascinating.
Neil Lazarus. He must be clever. He's got a British accent.
That probably was one of the more sillier jingles I put together, but I thought it was kind of cute. I hope that wasn't too loud and made you just jump or crash your car. We're talking about the Palestinian initiative by the Kushner plan, or the Kushner plan, which is coming out. Again, fascinating development. I would argue, just pay attention a little bit to who went and who didn't go. Official delegations are expected in Bahrain this week from 21 countries, and they include the United States, Japan, Oman, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Italy, the UK, remember Britain, used to be a country, and France, according to the administration officials. Total countries represented, 39. Sorry, 39, can't count. The question, though, is who didn't come? And what you're seeing is, with the Palestinians, this is America, and this is my question, is America about to impose a solution to the conflict which actually both sides don't like? Clearly the Palestinians don't like what's going on here, or the Palestinian leadership. The people may be pleased with it, but it's also worrying for Israel in many ways. We do have this question: is if this is the economic end, what would be the American political initiative? And that's remarkably interesting. We've talked about that before. And I've speculated before that we may be in a situation where Donald Trump is the first president of the United States to recognize an independent Palestine, not in all of the West Bank and not in maybe all of Gaza. and you could get to the situation where America recognizes a Palestinian state that the Palestinians don't recognize. Hannah Shrawi and the normal leadership dismissed it. If you look at Ashrawi on her Twitter page, she was condemning what was going on and rejected all proposals. Now, it's also interesting, and I think it's important to stress, the number of countries that went to Bahrain or are going to Bahrain, workshop as they call it. It's not a conference, it's a workshop. They all seem to have one thing in common, which they're on the side of opposing Iran and the threat of Iran. What the story is, and I've been saying this over and over again in the introduction of my presentations, and some of you may have heard if you're listening to this podcast as a result of hearing me live, is that today the Middle East is really being divided over to on an axis, which is, are you threatened by Iran or not threatened by Iran? Another interesting little note, which I confess I missed. So I give credit where it's due to my mate Itai Fleischer. Great guy, teaches here. Definitely recommend hearing him. It's not his fault, he's Australian, we'll let him off. Maybe I should do this bit in the Australian accent. But he noted on my Facebook page, keep coming them in, notes on the Facebook page are hysterically brilliant. I love you guys. He was saying that, and I didn't know this, if you have a look on the front page, the picture of the Palestinian under judicial independence is a picture of Bassam Aramin, which was taken without his permission, and his photo appears on page 34 of Peace and Prosperity, the economic plan, a new version of the Palestinian people. The trouble was, in January 2007, his 10-year-old daughter, Abir, was shot on her way to school by Israeli forces. Ouch. Ouch. How realistic is the plan? Well, Kushner seems very positive that he can go ahead, etc. Look, it's certainly coming at a time, and we'll talk about this in a second, of increased tension in the Gulf. But there's something else. Am I the only one who's done this maths? Think about the elections. Remember? Elections? Israel had elections, and we're now going back to elections because Netanyahu didn't make a coalition because Lieberman wouldn't agree to the compromise over the recruitment of Orthodox Jews into the army. So hold on, what's the connection? Here's the connection. Do the maths. 1, we have elections September the 17th. Okay, September the 17th. Now, it normally takes a month for Israel to get its government together. They didn't last time, but let's say they do. That brings you to mid-October. What is in mid-October? No, mid-October, Israel, Jews. Yep, nothing. The sound of silence. Why? Because it's the holidays. It's Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. The people of Israel in Israel are divided into a month of 3 parts. Those who go to synagogue, those who go abroad on holiday, and those who sit at home and binge watch Netflix. Nothing happens. So hold on, that brings you to November. But what's in November? November could well be the time for the trial of Bibi. Will Netanyahu finally end up in court? And if so, it could well be in November, which then pushes everything off at least to December, which is Christmas. So let's wait for January, which is 2020. The Palestinians are very skeptical and are saying that the deal of the century could actually be the deal of the next century. And you know what? They could well be right. Let's have a look at a little bit more in depth at what is going on in the Gulf.
You're listening to Middle East expert and keynote speaker Neil Lazarus, live from Jerusalem.
So we've had a very tense week in the Gulf. We've seen 2 tankers hit, assumably by Iran. That's what America alleges. We have had an American drone hit by Iran. And then the decision to not hit back. And in best Trump fashion, the story changes depending what interview you listen to. But the reality is, the story would have it that the aeroplanes were in the sky and they were turned back. It's not clear. It's not clear. But what is clear is the lack of appetite for a direct conflict with Iran, which is also interesting. I think what's going on there is brinkmanship. And both sides are playing the game very well. I think Iran is wanting to provoke America enough to create an oil crisis, to raise the price of oil, in order that the provocations will be stopped and America and the world economy could well be saved. I think America is growling at Iran in an attempt to renegotiate the Iran deal. The trouble is, it's not enough to just growl unless you bite. Without biting, on the good news, a war between Iran and America, which could include Israel, was prevented. Yet, I think the criticism coming out of Israel is absolutely right as well, which is that maybe, just maybe, all of the growling rhetoric of the Trump administration against Iran actually was damaged, because at the end of the day, if you threaten, you have to carry it out. And that didn't take place. So again, a remarkably fascinating development in the Gulf. Watch it. See what happens. I think Iran will have to continue its provocations. And the question then is, what will happen with an American response? Now, we haven't had it for a while. And people have been asking for it again, which was what we call the most outrageously crazy story of the week.
Middle East expert Neil Lazarus from awesomeseminars.com presents the winner of the most outrageous political story of the week.
So, what the story is all about was British comedian Jo Brand. She made the following joke.
Would you not say, Joe, we are absolutely united in feeling we are living through a terrible time from a parliamentary point of view?
Well, yes, I would say that, but I think that's because certain unpleasant characters are being thrown to the fore, and they're very, very easy to hate. And I'm kind of thinking, why bother with a milkshake when you could get some battery acid?
Oh my God. So the argument about this has been going on all week. Did she incite violence? Did she incite violence? Or was it just a joke? Now, it's important to remember she did say the following.
That's just me, and it's all right. I'm not going to do it. It's purely a fantasy. But I think milkshakes are pathetic. I honestly do.
I don't know. So the people who've actually been suffered from acid attacks, and we've also had a British Parliament who was assassinated not long ago, were up in arms saying she's inciting. I think there was a number of interesting commentaries which talked about context and the intent. And I think it was a very good analysis. In other words, what was the context of it? Namely, it was a joke. What was the intent? It was clearly not to encourage people to use acid against anyone even as annoying as Farage in the UK. But I ask you a question, and this is what I want to hear, and this is what I want you to let me know. Does humour have a red line? Are there things not funny? Look, we've had this discussion before, not on this podcast, but it's been discussed especially over, jokes about rape, jokes about... Where's the red line? Is there a red line? Or are we becoming a world where it's so politically correct, people have lost their sense of humour? Or was this just not funny? I raise the question, what are the red lines of humour? You tell me. I'm fascinated in the subject, as you know, I'm someone who does use humour. Look, my humour is generally pretty self-derogatory, if I could say the word. Occasionally I'll make fun of someone in the audience if they deserve it. But I don't know. In my seminars, I use humour, to be honest, as a manipulation, a way of keeping people interested, listening, etc. Can you go over the top? Could you make a Holocaust joke? Is that offensive? I don't know what the answer is. So I'm asking you, my fellow podcast listeners, what's your thoughts? What are the red lines? Look, we're nearly out of time, so I want to thank you for tuning in. Like I said, wanted to get this out to talk a bit about what's going on there. If you haven't done the Middle East 101 course, we've just upgraded it. Really good course. Recommend you download it. Go on to awesomeseminars.com and then look for Learn Online with Neil, and you will discover it there. Lots more information so you can download and learn more with me online on your own time. We also have other courses there which are available, which include public speaking, how to talk about Israel in a hostile environment, so on and so forth. So check out that via my website. Keep in touch. I'm going to be on the road again in the fall. So if you are a part of a synagogue or at a university and want me to come and visit, drop me a line. Also, probably the best is via my website, awesomeseminars.com. And we can make that happen. We also have webcasts. I've been doing a lot of live teaching in front of live audiences from abroad who don't have the budget to, arrange something live. But they wanted to do something, and it's very quick, very simple, very easy to do. Happy to do that with your organizations as well. Keep in touch. I hope you enjoyed this last podcast that we had on Christianity. There was quite a lot of response there, so that was interesting. Let me know what you think about some of the questions we raised. Until next time, this is Neil Lazarus, and thank you for joining us.
Neil Lazarus. Educating, motivating, challenging. If you like this, why not invite Neil Lazarus to speak at your synagogue, church, or school? Check out his website, awesomeseminars.com. You're listening to Middle East expert and keynote speaker Neil Lazarus, live from Jerusalem.